financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's show, the topic is too little income or too large a debt. Pat Simasko, good to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks for being
Jeffrey Kirshner.
Nice to see you.
You are Brian Small.
That's me.
I didn't recognize you.
I know.
All dapper. Look at
Don't
that.
get used
I've
to-
never seen you in a tie like that.
Do not
Except
get-
when you're going to court.
Yeah, do not get used to it.
Very nice, very nice. All right, so let's get into the topic right away. Too little income or too large debt. When I came up with the title, I thought of the concept of relativity, so I then went online and said Einstein's theory of relativity. I thought maybe we'd go through a little physics exercise here as a way of stepping into the topic. In 1905, the theory of special relativity was developed by Einstein. The law of physics are the same for all non-accelerating observers. The speed of light in a vacuum was independent of the motion of all observers. It meant in a vacuum it was the exact same no matter who was observing it. You then take that to the next step, which is the theory of general relativity, that basically says massive objects cause a distortion in space-time, which is felt as gravity. And what they were talking about is, imagine a trampoline, and you put a big rock in the middle of the trampoline. The impact on that is if you ran a marble around the outside of the trampoline, it would fall towards the center. Whereas if there was nothing in the middle of the trampoline, everything would stay flat. So that's the relativity a la Edison. I thought I would then shift us to
Edison or Einstein?
Einstein. Edison gave us the light bulb that we could see the theory of relativity from. The theory of
Nice
relativity
segue.
a la law and reality is this. The greater the income, the greater the tolerance you think you have to manage debt. The less the income, the less tolerance you think you have to manage debt. And then the third component is debt, particularly if it's credit card debt and you're paying interest, is a waste of money regardless of your income, and you have the power to eliminate it. So the point I'm trying to make is people tend to think, well, if I've got good income coming in, I can manage and handle a greater amount of debt. And if I'm short on debt, short on income, I have less tolerance to handle debt. In my view, if you're incurring debt that you don't need to be incurring, like paying 20% interest on a credit card, it doesn't matter whether you're making a lot of money or a little money, you're making a big mistake by paying out all that interest.
Absolutely.
You go with me on that?
It's 100% true once you got to the part about the debt and the interest.
I
and
like the
and
Einstein,
and
particularly
and
with the gloss of
theory of law and
Edison
reality.
in there.
Sure, but
But-
the money
Yeah,
makes you
right.
feel more tolerant to handle that because you've got more money coming in. You feel it's going to continue to come in, and you'll be able to manage
It almost
better.
becomes a bigger mistake in that case, because if you have the good income and you're wasting it on paying it out on the credit card debt, you're throwing away easy money that you could be putting into
Yeah,
retirement.
retirement planning with it. Yeah.
All right. Quick illustration of the point. If you've got $60,000 of credit card debt, you're going to have to make $18,000 a year in minimum payments in order to service that debt, figuring your minimum payment is 2.5% per month of the debt. And in 20% tax bracket, you've got to earn $22,500 a year. That's $1,875 a month. $1,875 a month, instead of giving it to the credit card companies and putting it in the bank at 6%, grows to $308,000 in 10 years and grows to $870,000 in 20 years. Let's say you only have $30,000 worth of credit card debt. You're paying $9,000 a year in minimum payments. Your 15% tax bracket, a little lower at that point, means you're spending $10,588 a year to make the payments. That's costing you $882 a month. if you can shift it around and save the $882 rather than giving it to the credit card companies, in 10 years that's $145,000. In 20 years it's $409,000. So half the amount of credit card debt turned around into savings yields about half the amount of the savings at the end. But the big point is these are large numbers. When you're sitting there with $30,000 of credit card debt and you're 50, you're thinking, all right, so I'm managing to pay $800 a month on the credit cards before tax, and I'm handling it. And the credit cards don't go away.
No, they do not go away. And one of the things that you have to be cognizant of is that if you're not putting away enough money into retirement now, and I don't care what age you are, if you are putting that money into a credit card, that means that somehow you're probably living beyond your means, which means that you don't have the ability to save what you need for your retirement. The government isn't going to be there for us, no matter who you are. Social Security is never going to be at the levels that we need it to be. In fact, there's a possibility of a decreased Social Security benefit down in the future. So you've got to protect yourself. If you're putting $800 or $400 or $210 a month towards interest on your credit cards, you are flushing your future down the toilet.
Actually, it's even added on top of that because those people are probably not contributing to their retirement accounts first, right? They're spending it on the credit card.
It's just that 882,
Yeah.
they're in the credit card trap.
Because there they could put it
But
into
I
their
think in the
IRA
credit card
first.
trap, whether it's 882, 422, or 222, it's still the same thing. No matter where you are, if you're paying interest on the credit cards,
You're foregoing the opportunity to put the money in savings.
absolutely.
Okay, I completely agree. By the credit card trap, what I'm thinking about is people think I can make the payments because they write out their checks every couple weeks when they get paid, and they have enough to write out their checks, and they leave about $200 in their bank account, which they spend in the first 4 days, and then they're just kind of living on the float till their next check.
Right.
But nothing goes into retirement, and when they have to buy something, they have to charge it because they have no available cash. So even when they make the payments, even if they're greater than the minimum payments, the credit cards never go away. They inch up, but they never go away. You've got to take more dramatic action to get rid of the credit card debt. So what we're going to do is after the break, we're going to take an example of Bill and Rick, and we're going to compare their situations and figure out how to solve their problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. All right, so let me give you the scenario. Bill and Rick, they're both 50 years old, they're both married, and they have a problem. Now, just to clarify, Bill and Rick are not married to each other.
These are two separate
people with similar situations.
In fact, by looking at the outline, you would almost say they have the exact same financial situation, and yet it's slightly different.
It's different. Here's how it's different. First how it's the same. They both own a home, they're married, they have $50,000 of equity. They have $25,000 in savings, each of them. They each have an IRA of $75,000, and they each have $85,000 of credit card debt. So far, everything's the same.
How often do you see that with 85? Those families come in with that much credit card debt?
You know, I'm going to tell you.
Frequent.
20 years ago, I would have told you that the average amount of credit card debt that comes in to see me was around $10,000 to $15,000. Today, the average amount is hovering close to $45,000.
No kidding. Wow.
Do I see $85,000? Every week I see $85,000.
Wow.
And people just sit there and go,
how did it happen?
They look at me like, how did this happen? And it just spirals out of control.
I think it's so easy to understand how it happens, because as soon as you
get started out at 10.
As soon as you get into the trap where you don't have any excess cash, and then the credit card company says, here's another credit card with a $10,000 credit limit or a $15,000 credit limit, you've now solved the short-term problem of where do I go to have buying power.
Here's the question. How much do you think they actually purchased on that $85,000?
Well, you know, that's an interesting question.
Oh, versus the interest in the
late
fee.
Right. 10 grand?
And it's, well, no, it's probably about 2/3 of purchases, but it's what the purchases are.
Right.
What happened, where I've seen this explosion in this $85,000, $100,000 for the credit card debt is because of the collapse of the economy in 09, 10, et cetera, you saw people making $400,000 a year all of a sudden go to $200,000 a year, or $200,000 a year go to $100,000 a year.
Or
and
75 going to zero.
Yeah, and they couldn't adjust for the change in their lifestyle quick enough.
Right.
And they thought, oh, tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow I'll get a new job. Tomorrow my income will come back up. And the reality is it didn't. And so they maintained a lifestyle, and then it hit the wall.
There you go.
Are you suggesting that the sun will not come out tomorrow?
Please do not start
singing.
Singing Annie.
I couldn't resist. Anyway, I didn't give you the factor of where Bill and Jeff were different. Bill and Rick. Bill was injured at work, and he can't work, and he has no income. So that's Bill's situation. Rick was laid off, and he can't find work. So here's the point. Everything about these two gentlemen is the same. They have no income coming in, but one is there as a result of being disabled. The other one has the misfortune that he's been laid off and he can't find a job. Now, I've been talking to people, Brian and I went through this last week, people in their 50s that are out of work and laid off. Even though the job market is good right now, it is difficult to reposition yourself when you're 50 plus in the job market.
Because there's a whole bunch of 25, 30-year-olds that are willing to take your job for 1/3 of what you're owed and what you're worth.
See, where I come at, and I'm obviously biased because I'm well past 50, is I think that the benefit of the knowledge and age you gain between 45 and 60 is where you really hone and fine-tune your skills in what you do. I think I'm a better lawyer at 62 than I was at 50.
But a lot of the jobs you're talking about, though, aren't necessarily skilled jobs, higher-end jobs. You're talking about lower-skilled jobs that they don't require as much experience, and they'd rather hire somebody who is significantly younger, don't have to pay as many benefits for, and who has a body and a mind.
You see that all the time in the
all the
disability
time.
field.
Absolutely.
I can see it there, but I also see it in the skilled positions, the sales positions particularly. They always want the younger guy on the
Cheaper
sales,
on the
whereas
bottom.
in sales is a skilled talent that you learn how to close, you learn how to present, and I think the sales guy who's been doing it for 25 years has a marked advantage over the guy who's been doing it 5. But then again, if you're the guy hiring and you're 40, I guess you don't want to hire someone who's 55.
I think Ten's at a job interview right now.
But look at this.
I was thinking about changing that.
In this situation,
I'll call him back tomorrow.
You've got Bill though. Bill isn't going back to work. He's injured. What do we do for Bill? That's the real question.
So all right. So first question. Let's talk about Bill. He comes in and he says, "I think I may have a disability that would entitle me to benefits. How do I find out?"
Well, there's a couple different benefits. Based on what you've told me, he got injured at work. So right away, I'm going to look at an analysis for a workers' compensation claim. If he's unable to work 2 weeks or longer, unable to earn his maximum pre-injury income level because of that injury, then I've got a workers' compensation claim. If he doesn't even miss any time from work at all, he's automatically entitled to have the workers' compensation insurance carrier pay for his medical bills even if he doesn't miss any time.
So let's assume he's injured at work and we already know he's not going back. From the standpoint of the injury. Is he still entitled to workers' comp and then pursue disability? How do the two work together?
Correct. Right away, workers' compensation would kick in. And then we take a look to see how long we perceive his injury is going to last. If he's going to be off of work for 12 months or longer, then we're looking at potentially a Social Security disability claim.
Yeah, he's not going back to work.
Right. So that's when we would start the process of a Social Security disability
Is there an
claim.
offset between the two?
There is an offset between the two. That would be that Social Security would get credit if you get workers' compensation. So if you're getting Social Security disability and workers' comp,
So you're making $2,000 in Social Security, and you get a comp, it reduces the Social Security?
exactly. So you get all your comp, Social Security gets reversed. It's the opposite once you hit the retirement age for Social Security. If you are on regular Social Security and you're getting workers' comp,
can get
it's
both.
the opposite, but comp gets reduced by the regular Social Security.
Oh, so then it
So it
flips.
changes once you hit retirement.
So either way, you get screwed on both sides of the coin.
Correct.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us Thursdays 3 to 4 for Law and Reality Now on 9:10 a.m. with Cliff Russell. We've got seminars coming up on Wednesday, August 2, 6 to 7:30 p.m. From debt to savings, all you need to do is take action. We're going to go through all the methods and systems we use to preserve future income so that your cash starts going in the bank and you start saving for retirement rather than giving that money to the banks and Visa and MasterCard every month. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Seminar is free. Sign up at thavgross.com. lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. Then on Wednesday, August 16th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., we have a seminar, 300 Reasons Not to Wait on Doing an Estate Plan. We're going to go through estate planning steps for the middle-aged, avoiding probate, avoiding the big mistakes people are making these days in trying to handle this estate planning on their own. Attendees will also be eligible for a free durable power of attorney for all their college-age children if they go ahead and do an estate plan. There'll also be a $300 certificate to those attending. The seminar will also talk about estate planning needs for mom and dad. Pat Simasko will join us and talk about elder law care issues on that point. Want to remind our viewers to always go to the website, stavgross.com, lawandreality.com. You can always click and request a free consultation, whether it's for debt issues, tax issues, elder law issues with Pat Simasko, disability or workers' comp issues with Jeffrey Kirshner. You can call 888-235-HELP to schedule a consultation, or you can click and request a consultation on the websites. We'll be right back.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so Bill, his first thing, I think he needs to talk to you, Jeffrey. He needs to come in, make an appointment, and find out what his rights are for workers' comp and for disability.
Right, we'll do a complete analysis of both, figure out what's his best strategy, and take it from
And 20 seconds after he's done,
he's
seeing
going to
Jeff,
flip
he's
over
gotta
to
come
you.
to my office.
What about this credit card debt? He's got $85,000 of credit card debt, and he's got zero income coming in. And while we're talking about Bill, Rick is in the same situation. It's just Rick isn't injured. So he doesn't have to talk to Jeffrey about his injury, but he's got no income coming in, and he's got the same issues.
So here's the reality of the situation. The reality is here's if they did nothing, they were going to spend through the money. Each one of them, without coming to see us, is going to spend through their $25,000 in savings.
And then what?
Then they're going to dip into their IRA, and they're going to spend through that. Because that is what
People do.
People do, right.
Because they're brainwashed thinking that no matter what happens, they have to make that credit card payment on time every month or Humpty Dumpty will fall off the wall.
So my immediate piece of advice to both Bill and Rick is immediately stop paying your credit cards. They're irrelevant. The issue is to extend the life of your cash as long as you humanly can to keep the roof over your head and food on the table.
What is the first question that Bill and Rick are going to say to you when you give them
What
that advice?
about my credit score?
If I don't make my credit card payment on time, my credit score is going to go down. And
Bill,
then how am I going to
Bill,
live,
you
Brian?
are not going back to work, you need to extend this money so that when your Social Security Disability Award comes in, you have haven't used it all up, and you've got that money coming in the future, but it's 17 to 20 months down the road. You've got to make your money last. Your credit score is irrelevant. Rick, your credit score is just as irrelevant. You are having a hard time finding a job. You've got to maximize cash.
And with it being, when we say it's not relevant, the point is the credit industry wants you to think that if your credit score goes down, you're going down into the dungeon and you're never coming out. Credit scores go down, credit scores go
come back
up. When you get rid of the debt, the credit score will go up. And our strategy here isn't to just stop paying. Our strategy is ultimately to get rid of the debt. So how are we going to do that?
So both Bill
Can they
and
just file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and make it simple?
most probably they can. There are some issues because when you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, there's certain things you're entitled to keep and certain things you're not entitled to keep. So in this case, Bill and Rick they're married, so I'm assuming that the house is owned by the two of them. The $50,000
Not
equity.
by them together. They're
Right.
each married to their own
Right.
spouses.
So
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
anyway,
No, absolutely.
half the equity belongs to Bill, half belongs to his spouse. Half the equity belongs to Rick, half to his spouse. Can we protect all of the equity of Bill and all of the equity of Rick? Most of it. It's about $22,700 versus out of
And
the
I'm saying out of
25,000.
25. So that's
The
not
trustee's
that
not in a
significant.
bankruptcy. He's not going to take any significant action over about
All right.
$1,300.
What about the cash? What about the IRAs?
Well, it's all about timing. The cash is going to get spent down because they need to live on the cash. So when the cash is gone, we file the
Oh,
bankruptcy.
so you're not going to just jump in and file the bankruptcy
No,
right
the
away?
right move is to
Season
accept the
it.
phone calls of the creditors, keep them off of the backs
Don't
of Bill
pay the
and
credit
Rick.
cards.
Don't pay the credit cards, and by God, don't touch the IRA or 401k.
So the
Who's
bottom line is you're going to spend down the $25,000 and then file the bankruptcy when
And
the
then-
timing is right.
And for Bill, when he gets his award for Social Security Disability, by eliminating all of that credit card debt, he gets to keep his entire award.
As long as he
Files
takes care
bef-
with Brian before the money comes in from Social
Right.
Security.
And
So
who
there's
should
timing.
talk to me? His parents, because his dad is 85 and about ready to die, and if Bill inherits any money, the
It
bankruptcy
messes up
court
the whole
can take
bankruptcy.
that. So you have to modify Dad's estate plan to make sure it's protected from the bankruptcy court if Dad dies.
And once he gets the award, that will be a big chunk of money. He can invest it as well as use it for. He's going to use it for his living expenses, but he should try and earn some interest and income off of it.
Correct.
That's a wrap. So Bill and
Great
Rick,
show.
we've solved their problem. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.